children of the last dawn, they found the planet by accident. The war had gone on so long that the maps themselves were beginning to fray, but the scout ship Lumen drifted into the dead system while running silent from a Dominion cruiser. Its crew of 40 humans expected nothing, just another ruined rock scorched by orbital fire. What they found instead was silence, and under that silence the faintest pulse of life. Commander Mira Halden was the one who heard it first. A repeating distress tone buried in static. She traced it to a small moon whose surface was cracked like old glass. When the landing party broke through the ash storms, they saw a field of fallen spires. Once the cities of the Kailari, an alien civilization wiped out months earlier in the human Dominion crossfire. Every adult body was long cold. But beneath, a half-collapsed temple inside a vault sealed by ancient light, they found the survivors. 6 children, small, trembling, pale-skinned things with translucent hair and eyes that shimmered like liquid silver. They didn't speak, only clung to one another and watched the humans with wordless terror. Their species had been the enemy. But the war's logic broke the moment Mira looked into the oldest child's eyes and saw confusion, not hate. Some of the crew wanted to leave them. "They'll never forgive us," one officer argued. "If the Dominion finds out we're harboring Kailari, they'll erase us." Mira only answered, "Then they'll erase us doing something right." They took the children aboard. At first it was chaos. Fragile lungs struggling in human air, alien metabolism rejecting every protein. The ship's doctor, Jalen Wu, barely slept. He mixed nutrients out of ship's algae reserves, calibrated heat lamps, wrapped the smallest in his own thermal jacket. Slowly, the children began to breathe easier. They learned to drink water, to walk the metal corridors barefoot. And somewhere, between the hum of engines and the sound of laughter that shouldn't have existed, the Lumen became something new. Weeks passed. The crew began to talk softer, to stop counting the war's casualties for a moment. When a Dominion patrol finally intercepted them, Mira ordered the ship to run cold among the rings of a gas giant. The children hid in the storage bay, their faint luminescence flickering like candles. But good things never hide forever. The patrol's scanners found them. 2 destroyers closed in. The Lumen was outgunned, and surrender meant the children's death. Mira gathered her crew in the bridge. "No one will remember this," she said quietly. "But maybe the stars will." They turned the ship toward the enemy and burned everything they had. The battle was short and terrible. Hull plating peeled, fire bled through the decks. Mira stayed at the helm until the reactor alarms screamed. Jalen dragged the children into an escape pod and sealed it shut. The last thing the oldest one saw through the viewport was Mira's face lit by fire, smiling. The pod drifted for 3 days through wreckage and silence, until a neutral salvage convoy picked it up. The rescuers thought they were collecting refugees from another forgotten skirmish. When they opened the hatch, they found 6 Kailari children asleep beneath emergency blankets, holding a single human data crystal. On that crystal was a message. Just voice. "If you find them, teach them that mercy is strength. Tell them we were not their killers. Tell them we tried." The children were raised among humans after the war ended. They grew, learned the languages of Earth, learned laughter without fear. Decades later, one of them, Aran Kailari the oldest, stood before the new Interstellar Council as an ambassador of peace. She placed that same data crystal on the table. "These were your enemies," she said, "and they saved us. Whatever you think humanity is, remember what they were that day." The chamber was silent for a long time. Then someone began to weep. Outside, orbiting above the rebuilt world, a new star burned where the Lumen had fallen, a memorial beacon launched years earlier by the convoy crew. They called it the Last Dawn, because it was born from the light of those who refused to let the dark decide what being human meant. And when Aran looked up at that star, she swore she could still hear Mira's voice in the static between transmissions, gentle and proud. "You made it, little one. That's enough." 40 years after the war ended, humanity's colonies stretched across half the Orion Spur. The Dominion no longer existed, its empire shattered by rebellion and exhaustion. But the scars it left behind never truly faded. Some wounds, after all, are carved into the soul of a species. Ambassador Aaron Kailari stood on the observation deck of the Unity Spire, watching the blue glow of Earth's oceans for the first time. She had imagined this world all her life, through the memories of stories told by those long gone. Commander Mira Halden, captain of the Lumen, her savior, her ghost. The Council had summoned Aaron to sign the final peace accord between Kalari and human descendants. The signing would mark an official end to the war that destroyed both worlds. Yet Aaron couldn't shake the feeling that peace was only one side of the coin, that remembrance was the other, and without it, peace meant nothing. That night, she dreamed of the ship again. The Lumen appeared in her sleep as it always did, drifting through clouds of stardust half whole, bathed in the golden light of some unreal sunrise. She walked its silent corridors, hearing laughter echo from distant rooms, Mira's laughter. Every time she tried to reach the bridge and every time the ship began to crumble before her hands could touch the door. This time, though, something changed. When she reached the bridge, she found a light still burning in the command chair. And a voice, calm, firm, unmistakably human, spoke from the static. "You're not a child anymore, Aaron. You found your dawn. What will you do with it?" She woke with tears in her eyes. At dawn, the peace ceremony began. Leaders from 50 worlds gathered beneath the crystal dome of the Unity Spire. Hollow banners shimmered with the twin emblems of Kalari and Human Alliance. Billions watched from across the stars. As Aaron stepped forward, the hall fell silent. The treaty lay before her, a simple silver tablet. But instead of immediately signing, she placed something beside it, a small scarred data crystal glowing faintly blue. "This," she said, voice steady, "is the message left by the crew of the Lumen, humans who chose mercy in the face of extinction. Without them, I would not stand here today. Without them, I would not know love." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Aaron had never spoken of her past so openly. She continued. "When I was small, I asked Commander Halden why she saved us. She told me, because the stars don't care who lives or dies. We do. I never forgot that. Humanity's greatness was not in its power to destroy, but in its refusal to stop caring, even when the universe turned cold." Her silver eyes met those of the human representative across the table, Elias Ward, a historian and descendant of one of the Lumen's engineers. He'd studied Mira's logs for years, and in Aaron's presence, he saw living proof that compassion outlived war. Together they signed, and in that moment the last dawn memorial star above the planet pulsed, just once, as if in approval. Later that evening, Aaron visited the memorial field outside the spire. The air was cool, filled with drifting lights that humans called memory drones. Each carried the recorded faces of those who had fallen. Mira's projection stood near the center, smiling, frozen in the moment before the final sacrifice. Aaron reached out and touched the hologram's hand. The projection flickered, then stabilized, shimmering faintly in the twilight. "I kept your promise," Aaron whispered. "We learned to be better. We didn't let the dark win." From behind her, footsteps approached. Elias stood quietly, holding a small vial of silver dust. "I found something," he said softly. "The Lumen's wreckage. It's orbiting the beacon, your star." He opened his hand, showing the vial. "This is all that's left of her hull. I thought you should have it." Aaron smiled, a fragile, beautiful thing, and placed the vial inside the memorial's base. "Then she'll always be part of the light." They stood together as the memorial lights rose into the night sky, joining the countless stars. For the first time in centuries, human and Kalari voices sang the same song, a soft hymn that spread through the stations and colonies, echoing in every transmission. It was called The Light We Leave Behind. Years later, when Aaron herself became old and her body began to fade, she returned to the ruins of her birth world. She stood where the temple once stood, the place where Mira had found her, and watched the twin suns rise over the horizon. "I'm home," she said. "We made it." And as the wind carried her voice into the light far above, the beacon star pulsed once more, bright enough that even distant human colonies could see it. To some, it was just a fluctuation in the light spectrum. To others, it was a message. The last dawn never truly ended. It just became the morning of a better world.